Hello to everyone watching and listening around the world, and welcome. Today we are speaking with Mansoor Ali. Mansoor is a consultant and facilitator for one of IMA's open courses, monitoring, evaluation, accountability and learning, or as we call it, MEAL. And he's been working in the international development sector for over 35 years. His journey in international development started when he worked as the advisor to the globally recognized WASH program, after which he continued working in the sector on a number of development projects in 18 developing countries. So very, very knowledgeable. He is passionate about improving waste and sanitation for countries around the world. And we are very grateful to be finding out more about him today and speaking with him. So hello, Mansoor, and thank you for speaking with me today.
Hello, Olivia. Yeah, thank you very much. It's great to be in contact and interviewed by IMA. So thanks, and I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Wonderful. We're very looking forward to it too. So to start off with, what in your life has led you to where you are now, and what's inspired you?
Yeah, so Olivia, I call myself more or less as a half allotment person. I like growing, and I'm beginning to go sort of semi-retired, but still very, very active in the professional world. So I'm starting my allotment, although I'm still busy with work, and I call myself moving in that direction. But also at that point, I would like to do more mentoring, more training, more teaching, so I can share with young professionals what I learned in 35 years. Also, what mistakes I've made. I also have a very big trust on young professionals. I came across in the last 2-3 years, I worked with very young teams, and the strengths and abilities they can bring on the table, things like digital connectivity, use of multimedia and all that. When we started, those things were not here. So their ability to think and analyze is excellent, is much higher than common abilities in my day. I don't want to compare, but that's my impression. So I like to work more and more with young professionals and enable them to deliver good international development in coming years.
Wonderful. Such a lovely, innovative environment, and it's so lovely to hear about your allotment. I think that's wonderful. I'm personally not very green fingered, and I feel like I probably kill more plants than I do grow them. But it's nice to hear that you're very good at that, so good luck with it all. And where and when in your career have you learned the most? You've obviously got lots of experience, worked in lots of different areas and with lots of people. So what have you learned the most, or where have you learned the most?
Yeah, so I continue with the allotment theme. One of the things which I learned in my first work in a big slum area in Karachi, one of the components was also kitchen gardening. So, and my father was a very keen gardener. So that was coming, but my main role was to work on a sanitation program, which was for a very large slum area of more than 1 million people. And I was very fortunate to work with some of the leading international development experts like Dr. Akhtar Hamid Khan, architect Parveen Rahman, architect Arif Hassan. These people are known in the world. They wrote many books. They've won many international awards. So I was very fortunate that when I was only 23 or 24 years old, I was exposed to and learning from those people. Although, as I said earlier, I born in a low-income family. My father wanted me to become a traditional technical engineer who can design big buildings for rich and powerful. But through some connections with this slum area project, I started work initially for some pocket money, but then I found that I'm learning. And one of the teachings, all these experts asked me to do, one of the things they asked me to do regularly is to set aside a time and write down. And in those days, my English was not good, so they asked me to write down in Urdu. But when I write it down, they asked me to read and have a discussion. In those days, actually, I remember first computer actually installed by me in that office, and that was 1984, because we were all handwriting and typewriting in those days. So that was a very high time for me to learn. But biggest opportunity working in that project, and obviously I was full-time student, so but I was a type of student who never satisfied with the classroom teaching. So I wanted to go out and learn. So one of the biggest opportunities working in that project, that we go out and talk to people, how people earning their living, how people developing their shelters, what they do with their water, what they do with their waste, all those sort of things, what challenges, how they communicate with their politicians. So range of learning from below was very much in. I think it was nurtured in my DNA because of those initial days. And then later I did my PhD from UK on a topic which was about recycling of waste by the poorest of the poor, and then working in practical action and as head of monitoring and evaluation. So that also nurtured learning. And all those times, including working with the humanitarian emergencies for 2 years, were very high time for learning. I think the key point is learning comes from various sources, but I always try to step back from what I am doing, not to feel happy or excited or proud of what I'm doing. See things critically, keep aside some time and see things critically, how these things can be improved. And then that's where the learning comes from. Uh, if you don't have that time, if you feel busy and more excited and proud of what you're doing, the learning stops there. So my teacher told me, and also I mastered that with my colleagues, with my people I was managing, that for learning, you need to come out of the context and think, okay, what is best? Well, how can we improve? What is best? What mistakes we are doing? And there, those are the things which I found very exciting about learning, and I still adopt and use those values. Working with IMA, it's a massive opportunity to use some of those values.
Yes, and we really enjoy working with you at IMA, and as we mentioned at the start, you are one of the facilitators for one of our open courses. And what's it like working with IMA, and what are you passionate about within the scope of the work that we do?
Yeah, initially when I was working in the international development, and as I said, I was looking to connect with like-minded organizations. So initially it was very good communication and very simple communication IMA was doing, but very effectively about their courses. So I sent an email, and after a few weeks, I was contacted by somebody from IMA. So we spoke. We found there's a number of things are common. And I was in contact. My impression of IMA was it's a training organization which delivers training across the world. But I always felt that there's something special about IMA which I don't know. So when I was asked to contribute to a training, that was my first exposure, and I found quite a few things which impressed me. One is it's a very simple organization. So there's no unnecessary bureaucracy. There's no unnecessary debates about we are good or we are bad. We just focus on outputs, which is really very, very good. So that is one thing. The training course on which I'm involved and later consultancy are all very focused on key output, but also creating a learning experience for our students. because you can develop tools, you can develop books, and you can do exams. But for training, you need, especially training for professionals, you need a different approach. And I feel IMA has that approach, which is to create a journey, create a setting in which everybody can learn. So that is what I like about IMA. And then the values, especially on learning, on reflections. I mean, they use some of those things which I was reading, things which were used many years ago by Marcus Aurelius and others. And they use some of those concepts in a very modern way. And I really like, the time for reflections, the slow pace to teaching, a relaxed pace to teaching, and also a very important, a respect for everybody. People sitting in our courses, some of them have got 1 year of experience or just starting, some have got 10 years. But in our courses, the way they are facilitated, everybody, in my opinion, everybody feel respectful. So we encourage questions, we give a lot of importance to the questions. And as trainer, we do not hesitate to say, it's a very good question, but we don't know the answer. And we think that a sector does not know the answer. So that culture is, I feel, is very, very important for good training and most important, good learning.
Absolutely, I agree. That's and it's really nice to hear that you feel we have such a supportive learning journey at IMA, and that's really a key focus of ours. And people learn best when they're in supportive and mentoring environments, and feel they can ask questions and have that open discussion about topics that they're interested in and that mean a lot to them. So it's really nice to hear that you relate to our values and you share those passions for helping people and working with people around the world. So that's really lovely to hear. And I suppose then, what do you think that the future holds for international development and IMA in general, or just, yeah, what does the future hold for international development?
Yeah, I mean, as things have changed when I started 35 years ago, things have changed quite a lot. And one major change, in my opinion, is the local capacity. The national experts are very good. At the moment, I'm working in 3-4 countries, and most of the national experts, they know much more than any international expert like myself. I mean, they're very, very good. So that capacity has evolved. The citizens, the beneficiaries, they ask for more details. They understand more details. They ask for more accountability. So in my opinion, those days are over when you're going and building a set of infrastructure for a community, training them, and then walking back. I think those days are more or less over, even in emergency context, unless there's a war or outbreak. But in sustainable development, the key is to build on the new expertise, the new opportunities which are available there. I was doing a project last year, and I found, like, in India, the things which they are doing, piloting and testing on waste recycling, new policies, is a very good example for other low-income countries, other developing countries, because they have that learning and they have that experience in piloting. So we need to nurture that. We need to focus more on South-South learning. When I started, there was a very common tradition that people will visit a very high income country, they will visit some infrastructure, services, they see something and they say, oh, we want to copy that in our own countries, without much thinking about the history of that development, without much thinking about the context of that development and the system which are in place for that. So minor things like traffic lights and road markings and hospital beds or regular supply of electricity. In many cities, still is not there. So we need to work with the reality. We need to work with the opportunity, and I feel that is the future for international development. We all have our role. There are many problems, there are many opportunities, but I always feel we can work together, and working together in partnership with the local experts is something which I feel was missing, still not fully accepted, but that is the future of international development.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. And collaboration and working together to fight. It's a global it's a global effort to help everyone around the world in different ways. And the more that we can work together and follow in one another's footsteps, the more we can all learn and the more we can share knowledge. And I think that's a really key point, actually, and I hope that's in the future for international development. And so I guess final question I have for you before we finish today is in a nutshell, what can an experienced consultant such as yourself deliver in international development?
So I was thinking quite a lot about how people learn, and how the behaviors and attitude and working practices change. And in a nutshell, what is key here is, unless you take people to that positive journey with you, it's very hard for anybody, including sometime. I mean, I have a young son, and I know it is not easy to explain a teenager that this is better, in my opinion, this is not, unless I do something with my own family, my own son. So, and that same is true for wider world. So unless we take people along that positive journey and we face the hurdles together in that journey, we enjoy the opportunities together in that journey, we will not nurture development in the way we expect it to happen. So I think togetherness is one thing which I feel is very, very important, and that is in a nutshell, in my opinion, future hold for. I mean, my other last point, final key point is there a need to do more on the learning side and the failure side in international development. The way international development is architectured, it unknowingly counter learning within organizational cultures, within our behaviors. It doesn't know that it is killing something, but it is happening. And as I said earlier, there are very few good examples, good leadership, good methods on learning, right? We do not reward learning. So we need to change that culture. We need to move out from the traditional philanthropy, charity culture to more sustainable development culture. And learning and failure is a very important part of that. I mean, if you look at the history of how private organizations evolved, because learning is part of their profit. So if they don't learn, they don't change. Even you have a very small thing like a bank card. Just look at in last 5 or 10 years, how many designs have changed and why, right? It's something very simple. Unfortunately, you don't see that pace in international development organizations. Sometimes you see the same thing is said again and again. Sometimes you expect others to change the behavior, not yourself. Sometimes there's less and less space on reflective learning among colleagues and organizations. So I feel learning is something where there's more need to be done, and future hold for that. I think on a big opportunity side, young professionals, I worked in last 2-3 years with very young teams, and they're absolutely marvelous. They are very, very good. They are very open. They have lots of new skills. So I'm very hopeful that when I will have a full allotment, so that means I will be fully retired and growing my own food or trying to grow my own food or slowly stop working. Many good people I came across, they have the leadership. They have people like myself will be replaced by more promising, more skillful, and more clever people. That's a big hope, and I'm working on it, and I see IMA training partly give me that opportunity to work with young professionals.
Wow. Well, it's really wonderful to hear you have such an optimistic outlook on the future and what it holds, and that's really promising to hear from someone such as yourself. So that's a lovely note to end on, actually. And I have to say, well, thank you very much, Mansoor, for speaking to me today. And I hope that everyone watching and listening has enjoyed hearing your thoughts on international development and your life. And Mansoor, will have a lovely day. And it was lovely to speak to you. And yes, thank you everyone for watching and listening.
Thank you very much. Really good. And I hope people will benefit from what I said and the questions, very good questions you asked to me. Thank you.
Thank you.